Hello, I'm Alan Patching, and I'm recording this video to reinforce messages that I had the opportunity and the pleasure to deliver for the Meeting and Events of Australia conference, the 23rd annual conference held in Melbourne at the Convention Centre in April of 2010. And what a wonderful event that was. The theme of the meeting, of the conference, was meetings mean business. But I have a question to ask. When you negotiate, do you mean business? Well, I'm sure most people who go into a negotiation or go in to negotiate do mean business when they walk through the door. But normally they tend to be about the business of getting the best from the negotiation. Even those with the best win-win attitude focus that win-win around the topic of the conflict that's being negotiated or the topic that's being negotiated. So it's really about negotiating mean business, in particular the business of getting the best possible outcome, depending on your perspective of the outcome, of that negotiation that's about to take place. And in the business of meetings, I just wonder if that's the best approach. Certainly there'll be places where you don't want to deal with someone ever again because of a bad interaction or something that was unfavourable to you and you don't see a way of recovering. There's always the practical outlook to take that it's time to break the relationship and move on. But for the most part in negotiation, particularly when you are negotiating with people in the meetings business, the negotiation itself, whilst being about a topic that's important now, is about something bigger. There's a bigger picture, and that bigger picture is ongoing business. It's the ongoing relationship with the people from the other side with whom you're negotiating. So I think there's a need, therefore, to look at some principles that might help. Because if meetings mean business, then negotiation means business as well. Because negotiation is often the means by which you get the business or improve, enhance the business you already have. Isn't that the case? Okay, let's look at some simple principles, and this is just a summary of the principles that I had the privilege and the opportunity to present at the MEA conference. Firstly, I believe we need to invert our thinking about negotiation. This is a neuro-linguistic concept. If you find out something that a person doesn't want to be experiencing, you invert that, you pretty much get what they do experience in a very, very short and summary way. So let's now take a look at this principle applied to negotiation. We want to win the business, or we want to win the business of the particular topic of a negotiation. For example, it could be about negotiation for the rental of a room in a particular hotel for an event. It could be the negotiation for a speaker for a particular event. That's fine, there's nothing wrong with that. But long term, we want to be able to have the best arrangement so that the business opportunity for all the parties involved in this negotiation becomes better. It becomes more synergistic as a consequence of the parties involved in this particular negotiation forming a relationship moving forward into the business future. So this negotiation isn't just about the particular topic it's addressing, it's about taking the business opportunities and possibilities for everybody involved to the next level. Now, what do I mean when I say invert your thinking? Well, have you ever heard of someone or a couple who wanted to have a baby and they tried forever and nothing was happening, and they were basically regarded as having unexplained infertility? So eventually they say, I guess we better adopt. So they go and adopt, and 3 months after they've adopted that lovely young child that's just become a new member of their family, what happens? Bingo, the wife's pregnant, or the woman in the partnership is pregnant. They're thinking about that particular problem's been inverted. And I see this in my work as the regional director of the Hypnosis for Fertility Foundation here in Australia a lot. I do work in the things I talk about as being the psychology for negotiation. It doesn't come from theory, it comes from practical application in my psychotherapy practice. It's a very interesting thing. Whilst they're worried about having a baby and they're stressfully focusing on having this particular baby, on getting pregnant, they aren't looking at the bigger picture of what could be the obstacles to their becoming pregnant. Namely, that there's too much stress involved, the fun's gone out of the relationship because it's too rote and run by the calendar, etc. Well, it's not that much different to what I'm talking about here in the business of negotiation. The more and more we focus on winning this point, this particular deal, this little part of the big picture, the less and less we keep our mind open to the big picture. I suggest in my tip number 1 so that negotiation means business for you, that you invert that thinking and you go into every negotiation thinking about the big picture, thinking about how I can form a better relationship with the other side, a better business relationship, potentially even a partnership that will take both our businesses to the next level and allow us both to serve our clients better than we ever could individually. If we focus on the big picture, then we might give way on one or two minor points in the negotiation now, but in the long term, it's not just win-win, them and us, it's win-win-win, them, us, and the most important people of all, those clients who we serve. So think about it. Maybe it's time to just a little bit invert your thinking on negotiation. And now let's go to the next point, and I'm flipping through the slides I showed at the event to make sure we get to the key ones. I'm going to spin over, if you like, go a little bit fast through things that are very important in negotiation. And I'm talking about matters such as preparation, tactics and strategies. At the MEA conference, I handed out, or made arrangements to be handed out, a copy of my ebook called The Negotiation Game, which looks at all the tactics and strategies you're likely to come across in any complex commercial negotiation and offers some suggestions for countering those strategies and tactics. But I believe the real strength of any good negotiator lies not in a knowledge of tactics and strategies, which you must have, by the way. It lies in your capacity to understand human behaviour. So I'm going to focus this review of what we talked about on exactly what we did talk about, and that is the review of the more psychological and behavioural aspects of negotiation. The one point I did make in the conference that I think it is worth making again here is a preparation point that suggests for any negotiation there's a few things we do need to know. We need to know our maximum position, what the maximum we think we can get out of this particular negotiation deal. We need to know the minimum position that we're prepared to accept. And we need to have a target to go for that we honestly believe that we can get out of this particular negotiation. I think it's essential to know that. Now, at the end or at the bottom end of our arrangement, at the minimum we're likely to accept, it's always wise to have what we call a BATNA, B-A-T-N-A. And BATNA stands for the best alternative to a negotiated agreement. Now, what's the purpose of the BATNA? Well, the BATNA's there for a number of reasons. It's quite well-known psychology in negotiation that if you've been negotiating for a long time and the times have been getting tough, it's at the last few moments of the negotiation that you're likely to walk away and give too much away. And really that's a time where we should be negotiating fairly and reasonably with the other side in order that we both get benefits. Because the last thing you want to do is have a wonderful relationship building negotiation and right at the minute give something away in order to get the deal done and then regret it, because it's likely that regretting it will be displaced upon the other person as something you don't like about them. And all that relationship building is out the window in one go. So it really makes sense to have a BATNA. And all a BATNA is really is a pre-thought consideration of what you'll do if you get to your bottom line in the negotiation and you still haven't got the result you want. And it may be something as simple, look, for the benefit of the future relationship, we'll let this deal go. Or it may be, I'll go back to my management and I'll discuss this matter further. Or it may be, I'll just go to the balcony. That's another expression that you'll learn if you read books by Urian Fry, I think it's Urian Fry or Urian Fisher, from the Harvard Negotiation Project. Books like Getting Past Yes, Getting Past No, Getting to Yes. Excellent resources for those learning to negotiate and learning to take their negotiation to the next level. Now, there's another reason for the BATNA, apart from buying you time so you can consider what your next step is. If you're working for someone else in a business, then they may have given you an expectation profile before you went into your negotiation. Along the way, you find that the other side introduces arguments that are perfectly reasonable, and it would be just lacks sense entirely not to go along and grant them what they ask for in the circumstances. So you move your position beyond the expectations of your employer, but with good reason. But the bottom line is the employer hasn't got all the good reasons.